What's more detailed, headphones or in-ears? Let's talk about it. Detail is something that's been heavily debated for so long. I've brought in a few people to help answer this question. Let's listen to what some of them have to say, and then we'll circle back, because I think this is a lot more complicated than it may first seem.
Do I think headphones versus IEMs detail? I think I've given my opinion. I gave it on the panel at SoCal Can Jam. I absolutely think if you want to get as close to the sound as possible, IEMs will win every time. There's very, very few instances where I think you could get better detail retrieval out of a headphone versus an IEM. And frankly, there's so much variation in IEMs that they probably are the most exciting aspect of audio right now. I will pick a headphone for convenience and comfort over most IEMs, even custom fit ones. But I mean, if you want my true passion, speakers. Those are the things that you just run them. You just run them, you gun them and run them, and you're done. You don't have to even wear anything on your head. So I would absolutely say IEMs have the best chance of delivering detail to you, and for whatever variety of sound listening preferences you have. Headphones, way more convenient. Still can, I mean, like 1266 is the most detailed headphone, but look at the 1266. And then, speakers come last, but I could use a speaker for 40 hours a day. The math makes sense to me.
I've noticed this a lot myself. There have been plenty of times where I'll listen to an IEM and it'll sound like I'm getting more out of the music than I do with a headphone, but in different ways. Maybe it is a proximity thing. Maybe it's because there's less acoustic impedance between the driver and my ear, but I'm also not so sure. Because there are headphones that I've also had incredibly detailed experiences with, some that feel like they surpass IEMs. But then why does my experience often feel like it goes the other way, with leaning towards IEMs being more detailed?
Do I think IEMs or headphones are more detailed? I think it depends on price. I don't know if there's a black and white answer to this, but I'm going to go with, on the lower end, I prefer IEMs. Just because I've heard very affordable IEMs absolutely destroy headphones in their comparable price point. But when you get to the flagship, and this is based off what I've heard, the Warwick Acoustic Aperio, the Sennheiser HE1, or even some of the stuff from Stax and Hi-Fi Men, I've never heard an IEM touch those for detail. So I guess my short answer is headphones. The long answer, it's complicated.
And all of these answers are still right. The thing is, I don't think detail is what we think it is. That probably sounds a bit strange at first. Think about how much detail has been debated on all the different audio forums, on Discords, in the comments sections. I think a lot of us have a different idea of what detail is.
In my experience, when trying different headphones and IEMs, I find that more often IEMs will sound more detailed, or revealing small nuances in music, more often than I find headphones are doing the same thing, especially when comparing between headphones and IEMs at the same price point. I think it's more common to find well-tuned and detailed sounding IEMs in the budget to mid-range price bracket than it is to find headphones in those same price ranges that are comparable in tuning and detail. That said, I think IEMs are a little bit held back by their form factor. With how they fit in your ear, you're often more conscious of their presence, and it can make them feel a little bit closed in and claustrophobic. While I think it's more common to have a detailed sounding IEMs, I think that when a headphone does stand out, then it can surpass IEMs in a sense of detail. Possibly some subconscious effects due to larger cups not making your ear feel claustrophobic, and also a better sense of space. Small details can sometimes feel more layered and more defined in the listening experience. So I think that in the budget to mid-range, IEMs are better for detail, but once you get to the top of the line stuff and headphones that are tuned really well, and also have a good sense of detail, then I think that they may surpass IEMs.
In my own personal perception of what detail is, I do find IEMs to sound, generally speaking, more detailed than most headphones. But that's my own personal definition of detail, a term that I've often used in reviews, and it seems like many people agree, but it's still not standardized, and there's not a clear way to quantify it or really explain it to anyone else. We use more audiophile terms to explain an audiophile term in things that are also not necessarily standardized or defined.
So the question is, which is more detailed, in-ear headphones or over-ear headphones? And the answer is, well, it depends on what you mean by detailed. If by detailed you mean that your experience of the music is more strongly isolated from your environment, or that the sound source is closer to your eardrum, then the answer could be that IEMs are more detailed. However, if you mean that the frequency response or tonal balance is more correct for you, then the answer gets a little bit more complicated. And actually, there's a sense in which over-ear headphones are technically better because they have less variability in terms of how they are received. When you're using IEMs, you are bypassing this part of your ear, so the whole pinna and the concha as well. And when that part of the ear is being bypassed, more needs to be assumed about your anatomy in order for it to be a good fit for you. Now with IEMs, they are easier to tune, so you can do more things with them that are more challenging to do with over-ear headphones, but at the same time, that doesn't necessarily mean that they have been well tuned. And in my opinion, the targets for IEMs haven't really been all that great, at least not up until now. And the reason for this is in part because we've been so used to using the 711 couplers, and there are some limitations to those couplers, most important of which for IEMs is that they lack the accurate acoustic impedance, or they don't have as accurate an acoustic impedance to the human ear as what you get with the 4620 and the 5128. So with these new systems, and now that the community is better understanding them, I think we can expect that IEMs will get even better than they have been as of late. So which is better? Well, if you don't know what your head-related transfer function is, or the difference between that and what you might see in graphs, then over-ear headphones are probably going to be a little bit more palatable for a wider range of people. But if you have the opportunity to try lots of IEMs, there's a chance that you could find something that's the perfect fit for you. And unfortunately, that means that there really isn't a very good answer to which is better between IEMs and headphones.
Some people tell me that detail is being able to hear the space in the room. Some people say you hear more in the recording, you hear the decay, you hear the space around the singer. Some people say it's a texture that you get in the treble, in the mid-range, and in the bass. Others say that it's a certain tightness, a certain fine grain information. The point I'm making here is that I don't think everyone really agrees on what detail actually is. And if we can't agree on what detail is, well, how can we ever quantify it? I mean, we could be thinking about 10 different things that are all detail in different ways. I mean, there are some headphones that a lot of people agree are more detailed. And the question is, are they all listening to the same thing, or is this headphone doing multiple things that multiple people also agree on are detail? This is an area where I feel like more study needs to be done. It's a study that I particularly have interest in doing, and have talked to several people about pursuing it. Who knows, it might be able to happen at some point, but for now, what I'd like to know is, what do you think detail is? Leave it in the comments, read what other people have to say as well. I imagine that many of you will agree on some terms, but many of you also probably won't. I can't tell you how many times alone people ask me the difference between soundstage and imaging. And honestly, I feel like those two terms are probably frequently confused by a lot of people, regardless of the fact that I think myself and many other reviewers have tried very hard to standardize them. But it's hard to standardize something that you can't quantify. So we are left to metaphors, comparisons. It sounds like the singer is doing blank. It sounds like the space is blank. Is it close? Is it narrow? Is it wide? Do I hear instruments in various different places? Can I hear the instruments apart? Is that detail or is that separation? And the farther you go down the rabbit hole, well, the worse it gets. At the end of the day, I think we all do our best to try and communicate, well, what we're hearing, our experiences. And I incorporate measurements and things like that to try and help quantify things further, but there's still a lot of things left unsaid. I guess my point is that audio, while a hobby that's been around for a while, is also still a young hobby. A lot of its maturing has happened in the last 20 to 30 years. And the rate at which it's accelerating, well, that seems to be going faster and faster. My hope is that if I have the opportunity to participate in some research like this, if I can make this study happen, that people will read it, that people will listen to the results and hopefully build upon that, do more research of their own, and continue to expand this hobby. Let's face it, there's a whole lot we don't know. We're just listening to wiggly air and having a good time. So for now, I leave you with this. Think about the things I said and leave me some comments. Let me know down below. Do you think IEMs are more detailed than headphones? What do you think detail is? Why do you think that is? And let's have a discussion. If you want to continue that discussion more, you can check out the Patreon chat or the Discord or the forum, all available at the link in the video description. As always, don't forget to stick around, subscribe for more videos like this in the future. Till next one, guys. Peace.